Welcome to episode 8 of Now for Someone Completely Interesting. And for the first time in the 16-week history of this podcast, we are in HD, 4K, Netflix quality, thanks to my guest this episode. I've known this guy here for just over 4 years. He's a co-host with another podcast called the Esteemed Gentleman. He's an author. He's a photographer. He's a filmmaker. His credits in the film industry includes writer, director, cameraman, actor, and whatever else it takes to make movie magic. You can see his productions via his YouTube page, Aviator Productions, which is why I, not only to hide my face, but an homage to that. So,
Nice.
but most important, he is the parts manager at St. Paul Dodge. So now for someone completely interesting, my friend and coworker, Tyler Sundt. It's great to finally have you on the show, and I'm really excited to talk about the automotive parts industry.
Oh, please, no. I'm very happy to be here.
There's a lot of avenues we can go down, but I like to go down because you have these most elaborate, interesting stories when it comes to the film industry. Whether you're making your films, whether you're watching films, critiquing film, you have an eye for them that is just a little bit above what the average person views it as. So can we just go, like, where did you develop this passion for the movie industry?
I think it stemmed from when I was quite little. I remember I used to watch movies all the time as a kid, and I loved movies. And I used to wonder, like, oh, I wonder how it could be different. Like, if my idea would be like, if this happened, then this should happen or whatever. But then I think really when it cemented the thought that I wanted to become a filmmaker was when I watched Jurassic Park for the first time. And I was like, how the fuck did they get real dinosaurs in this movie? I don't understand that. Like, this is terrifying and incredible and beautiful. Like, I can't imagine going to like a zoo or something and seeing live dinosaurs. How did they do that?
It's funny because I thought the same thing.
Right? Like, how did they do that?
And I was 33 years old when I first saw it.
So yeah, right from then I was like watching. I'm like, man, if they can, if filmmakers, and I know that there was some kind of a making of, and I saw how they did it, and it was animatronics, and the first time that they were using, like, really focusing on CGI, because they used to use clay animation right before they started making this. And I know James Cameron right around the same time made Terminator 2 using CGI on the T-1000 Terminator. He's like the liquid metal kind of weird, whatever. So they took that technology and put it into Jurassic Park and just fucking nailed it. It still holds up today, I will admit. And I'm just like, if they can do that, I want to be able to do something like that, where I make somebody believe something's happening and make them feel things that you want people to feel. And I thought that was really cool. So that was about the time that I knew.
Yeah. I mean, you've told me a lot of stories about. This is the first one I've heard about, the Jurassic Park one. But you always used to tell a lot of stories, and I love the way because you impersonate people so well as well. Talking about, you always tell me the stories about your memories with your grandparents and going to the video store and watching videos, and then when you're 8 years old watching horror movies.
Yes. Yes.
How did that relate into the whole thing?
Well, I don't know. I just the whole idea of, like, you sit in front of a screen and these images come out, there's music and there's people in it and there's whatever, and it's all acting, and it makes you feel something because that's what the movie is intended to make you feel. And I thought that was like, man, if I could do something to make people feel something, like, oh, I want to do something where people are going to cry. I want to see people cry because of something that I created, or
Right.
people laugh, or people be like shocked by it. And that's how it really panned out. And my grandmother actually used to own the Ashmont General Store, and above it was the apartment where they lived, and my grandpa had his plumbing business out the back. So after school or whenever, we would go over to the store, we'd eat candy bars, we'd play arcades, and then we would take like 5 or 6 movies home and we'd watch them, and then we just watch movies after movies. My grandmother used to watch me at the store, like babysit me, and I'd go in the back room and I'd watch movies in there, and I've been watching movies since.
But that was a story you told me once. The one of the early on in your life, what movie was it that they let you watch?
You're crying.
No.
Which one do you think? Pee Wee Herman?
Oh no.
No?
Sorry, no, that's not what I was thinking.
Oh,
of.
so the one that they made me watch
Oh.
that scarred me for life after was Braveheart.
Oh,
Was the Braveheart movie.
how old were you when you saw that?
I don't know. I don't think I was in kindergarten yet.
Oh wow.
I watched that, and
It's-
at the very beginning of the movie, I believe it's at the beginning of the movie. It's been a while since I've seen it. This young boy goes into like this big shack of some kind.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, and there's hanging people. I'm like, why are they hanging like that? And they're not moving. They're being real quiet. I don't understand. How fucked up is that?
Shut up, Pee Wee. We're watching a movie.
Peavy.
How did that come about?
Peavy?
Pee-wee.
Pee-wee. Well, my grandmother had a German accent, so
Right.
it used to be Peevee. Apparently, when I was a kid, my favorite show to watch all the time was Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, okay.
I vaguely remember any of the Pee Wee movies.
Oh,
I'm
classics.
sorry. I'm sure it was because it seemed to be something that.
They had a lot of great integration of claymation that you talked about earlier with the Jurassic Park there. So.
Right.
Movie genres. I mean, you seem to it's funny you brought Braveheart up because some of the stuff that you've collaborated on or showed me or talked about as far as ideas has a lot of graphic violence.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your favorite genre of movie?
It's gonna be horror, action, sci-fi, just something that's totally kind of bonkers and super graphic, but kind of believable and just scary and kind of a little bit of dark humor in there. It's all over the place as long as it's in the horror genre, whether it's sci-fi or.
Where do you derive some of your ideas?
A lot of my ideas are from the movies that I watch, a lot of the video games that I've played, some of the books that I've read, and just items, and a lot of the nightmares I used to have as a kid, probably from some of the movies that I used to watch. It's a big culmination of all those things, I think, is what it was, and yeah, and I just.
And then what about like character development and whether you're writing a book or where do you get the ideas from that?
I don't know. It just comes to me. I don't know. Like a lot of stuff. Like, well, the one that I'm writing right now, I loved Lord of the Rings, and I think the big, epic, crazy battles were super cool. And I'm like, what if like these guys in medieval times, and I love zombie movies. Okay, that's a subgenre that I can watch anything. It's my absolute favorite, zombies. Anything to do with zombies, even if it's a shitty movie, I don't care. I'll watch it because it's got zombies.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just because the fear of a horde of undead people coming for you, and they're just relentless and they won't stop, and there's no reasoning with them, and that's just a terrifying thing. Like it's just a thing that's gonna happen, and no matter how many you kill, there's just gonna be more of them. They're just gonna keep coming, and it doesn't matter what you do. Like yeah, they always win in the end.
No, okay. Back to the character driven.
Sure.
I know for a fact that maybe some of your characters come from people you've.
They definitely are people that I've either worked with or have known. A lot of my characters can be developed from some of the people that I've met.
Do you find it as therapeutic? Because some of these people are people you may not have. I mean, you've confessed to me anyways. We don't have to get into any details, but people that you may have had a negative experience with.
For sure. And I just expand on that. The things that I kind of dislike about some of these people, I just expand on that and just make them a really terrible person and just kind of like go off that.
Has anybody called you out on it?
Not yet.
Are you sure?
I don't think so.
No. You never made a short video about someone getting shot and that.
That was it was a masterpiece, and B, my biggest mistake I've ever made. So I made a short film.
The masterpiece was the film. The mistake was the character.
The mistake was the character names in it.
I see. Okay.
That was it. That's all it was. So I made a short film. It's on my YouTube page. What the hell did I even call it? Love Lost, I think I called it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's some names that were dropped in there, and then I had to redo it actually, and then just ad-libbed different names so that people didn't think of it as a death threat of some kind. We'll call it that. That's what people took it as a death threat.
Really?
And people thought that I had a hidden meaning that I was going to do something or something. I don't know. A couple of people.
I guess people could read into it, but
totally,
really, yeah. I mean, when you say it's a.
But it was a therapeutic thing. It's just like, you know what? I just like a fuck you kind of thing. It was a pretty selfish thing to do. It was, but.
Do you know what? Actually, though, it was pretty good. As far as the cinematography, the acting in it, that's what I think about too. Like, I mean, so you're not on, you're into the filmmaking. Go ahead, crack it.
Okay, thank you.
We're on camera; they can see it.
I'm getting nervous. My cheeks are red. I feel like I'm being interrogated here. I'm just kidding.
That's not the idea.
I know. I'm
we talk about this all the time, so this is just us talking with microphones and a camera now.
Right.
You don't have the big Hollywood budget, but I gotta say, like you go through some of these films. What was the movie you did in your younger days? Oh, you got chased by a truck and with no
Too far.
Oh, Too Far. See, it had good quality entertainment value, but what obviously lacked. I mean, you didn't have this expensive camera. You didn't have the studio. You didn't have actors. But on that note, these are all your friends and your family that participate in this. You have this ability to actually draw out at least an honest effort. Maybe they're not the best actors, but they're actually getting into the character role and everything. And I thought, that was as cheesy as it may look on the outset, had good entertainment value. And I told you that when we watched it, that's something I would watch again, which to me is what makes a good movie. Something you'd want to watch again, even though you know what's going to happen. So what do you look for that in someone, or you just take whoever you can get, and how do you pull that performance out of them?
Usually like a lot of my ideas that come like when I was making this movie, it was actually going to be a lot darker, a lot more graphic, so I just kind of compromised with what I had. But I just asked, like, I was like, I need females in my movies, but a lot of them are just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to be part of that. And there's no actors around here, small town. There's no, I mean, I could do now that the internet is as big as it is.
Yeah, people don't come to St. Paul or Bonnyville to become actors.
Exactly. Yeah, there's far bigger, better places to be for that, for sure. But I just asked, I said, hey, I want to make this movie. Do you want to be in it? They're like, well, if they're close enough friends, they're just like, yeah, sure, I'm game. And that's amazing. Just being like, yeah, sure. They don't even like ask, well, what do I have to do or whatever. But I mean, usually if it's going to be something like, oh, you got to show your boobies in this, which I haven't done yet. I haven't been able to convince anybody to do that yet, unfortunately. But
you've never asked me.
No, that's true. That's true. But I just asked them, and I'm like, okay, and they show up, and and I'm like, I don't have any money. They're like, I got nothing going on this weekend. I'll come hang out, and we'll try it, and then if I want to actually get a better performance out of them, instead of just reading off the lines and just kind of going through the motions, I'll be like, okay, say it like this. I don't want to be rude and be like, okay, come on, try. But it's like, what, you're doing me a tremendous favor, so I'm not going to be a dick. If I was paying you, then I would be a dick. I'd be like, come on, man. Like,
do you have any idea, like, if that's how an actual director would do it, or do you know anything about that? Or?
I do. Actually, Michael Bay apparently is a total douchebag on the set, and he makes people work. He's like a drill sergeant out there. He's like, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to get your best performance out of it. Like, we're dropping, 10 grand worth of explosives here. You got to sell it to me and blah, blah, blah. Otherwise you have to reset this. It's all your fault. That's basically how he plays it. And then I actually watched Army of the Dead last night. And then I went on YouTube and looked up Zack Snyder and whatever. He talked about how he is on set. And he's just like, he just wants everybody to be happy and to have fun. And then like when you watch a movie and you see people and they're doing a great job, you're in on it. You're with them because you can tell that they're having a good time and they're trying to sell it. Right. And, so I feel like I would probably be the same way. So a lot of directors, what they'll do is they'll try to do 5 or 6 takes. Like Brett Ratner's as a director, Anthony Hopkins actually complained about him. He said when he was playing Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, I feel bad because I don't know who the director of that one was. He said that he had a great time on that set. He got to become a character that he never thought he'd be able to portray. He nailed it. And then when he made Hannibal the Cannibal, Ridley Scott directed it. And the only time that Ridley Scott had an issue with what he did, he just said, can you just say it a little bit louder this time? And that was it. That was like the one or two times that he had to redo a scene, and that was it. And then when he went to do Red Dragon, Brett Ratner, a younger director kind of getting into it, he would do no matter what, no matter if he nailed the performance or if he, did something like amazing, he would do a take 5 or 6 times. And he almost wanted to walk off the set because I feel like I'm wasting my time. And you just do the same thing over and over again. And you just do it no matter what take it was, no matter how minuscule it was. And I don't feel like I would do that. I would do it. I would watch it. And if you sold me on it, great, let's move on. I'm the kind of run and gun. Let's go. Let's get this done. And
well, I've had the honor of being participating in your film.
And
so.
you're an excellent actor.
No. I think my career is very limited on that.
I don't think so.
I played myself, and I didn't do a good job of that.
You have. Let's just at least admit you have great potential. Okay. Definitely have great potential.
I was thinking of something while you were saying that it was along the lines, but I mean. Yeah, I felt like too that was the atmosphere you generated, right? If the take was good, even before looking back, like you were like holding the camera and had that big grin on your face, like this is it. This is the take, and it almost ruined the scene for us because we're like, why are you smiling,
right?
But is there anybody in the film industry that you've looked towards that you've wanted to emulate in any way, or is it just kind of
I think the biggest one it all comes down to is probably Steven Spielberg, because one of the first making of features, I don't know if it was a making of. Yeah, I think it was. It was for Saving Private Ryan, and how Steven Spielberg was fascinated by war films. and he wanted to make his own war films. And he used to, after school, he'd make war films with his buddies. He used to go to the airstrip, and he would take the camera and tilt it to look like the plane was actually flying and have sound effects. And then he'd dig holes in the ground and put planks and put dirt on top of it and cover it up and have somebody jump on top of it and have an explosion sound effects look like a grenade went off. And watching those clips, man, I'm like, man, like how does it's so simple, and he's just so intuitive, and it's just so realistic in how he can go to any genre. Like when he made Saving Private Ryan, it was one of the first movies where it was just pretty much all handheld, and he was like right there. And you know, a lot of people that were watching it for the first time got sick watching it because of how shaky and how like down to earth and right in it, like documentary style, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at, you know, his epic films and how beautifully crafted they are. Indiana Jones, like so many huge one takes that don't look like one take because he frames his shots so amazingly. But just the versatility that he has, and how everybody says that working with him is so much fun. And he's open-minded. He's making all different. He's made horror films like Jaws, and he's made alien invasion movies. He's made war films. Like that's what I want to do. I want to be able to make any kind of film. Comedies. Everybody keeps telling me to do more comedies because the comedies are good. I'm like,
You have a good sense of humor.
I guess
You've written a lot of good, funny stuff.
I guess. I enjoy the dark, weird stuff, and people just don't react as well to
The
it.
funny people always do have a dark side to it. Speaking of which, I mean, okay, we talked a little bit of you growing up there with your grandparents and everything like that. So you're the oldest of 4 boys.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the story about? Was it you that stabbed your brother's volleyball?
No. No. I get mixed up in that one. But that's okay because I don't blame them for mixing that up because we have a violent history growing up.
I was gonna say I
Me and
feel
my
like
brothers.
I feel like you were the one that may have orchestrated it or something like it, anyways. So
You know what? Believe it or not, I had nothing to do with this. I just walked in on the scene and I was just like, "Oh, this is interesting. I wish I had my camera when this happened. This would have been one of the best things. This would be viral right now." So, if my memory serves me properly, what happened was one of my brothers had my other brother's volleyball. And my other brother had his burned disc of StarCraft. It was a video game that was kind of tough to get. And we had a guy that used to burn and download illegal games and stuff and put them on CDs for us and whatever. So he had a copy of StarCraft. It was like his favorite game. So basically, they were fighting about something. I can't remember what it was. So on the other side of the bay window, I see my brother standing out there with a knife and the volleyball, like holding it hostage. And then my other brother holding up the CD with 2 fingers on the base of it, ready to snap it. And he's basically taunting him like, "Try it. I fucking dare you. Try it. See what happens." So then my brother with the CD, he's just like, "Okay." And he just snapped it. And my other brother holding the volleyball screamed like he was like he got shot and he fell to his knees like, "No!" He took the knife, stabbed it. And then my other brother ran outside, man. And like he had a knife. Like, what are you charging him for? What if he stabs you? It was an incredible moment. I was just standing there, and I think my youngest brother was standing beside me too. We were both just watching like, this is awesome. Who's going to win this fight? Because there was so much rage. It was amazing.
Okay, last question. Back to the
Okay.
in all the movies or films or screenplays or books you've written, your favorite character or scenario that you've written or developed. Do you have one?
I have never been asked this question before. I have.
And this literally just popped in my head. Don't ask me why I thought
one
of it,
that I've written and created?
One of your creations. What's your favorite?
Oh my God, I don't know. Frick, there's so many. I like a lot of them. Well, the book that I'm writing right now, I think is really good. Well, my girlfriend tells me that it's amazing. So that's one opinion. That's all I need to keep going.
That's right.
But I think this is probably my best work for sure. So favorite character that I've written is this guy named Draven. You don't know much about him. You know that he's an elite, so he works directly with the king, who's a total douchebag, like just a real piece of shit scumbag, just feeds off his people. And basically, there's no religion in this. Basically, the only religious aspect in it is that the people worship whoever the king is, and that's what they name the country. So whoever the king is, that's what the name of the country is, and then the capital's named after the king as well. And he has his elites, who is like handpicked, douchiest of the douchebags, everybody. And he has this one guy, Draven, and he basically doesn't let him stay in the city with his other elites because he kills too many people too quickly for his own pleasure. And they call him the Peeler, Draven the Peeler, because he likes doing things with their skin and stuff, whatever, right?
Well, now you can see the dark side of Tyler's.
Right. And so the king's like, okay, you can't be hanging out in the city. Like, you're drawing too much attention. People are too scared of whatever, blah, blah, blah. You gotta pace yourself. So we're gonna send you out to Green Cove, like this small little village, and that's where you'll have your own little detachment. You can have your own little weirdos with you and whatever, right? So that's where he is. And he's just a really vile individual, but he comes across as extremely charming. He's a very nice guy. He'll talk really calmly and whatever, and basically twist words around and make you believe stuff, and just and try to get into the mind of his victims and just bring him all out. And then he'll, once he feels like there's nothing else to learn about you, then he just peels you and kills
Isn't
you.
there a saying along that lines that's to say the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people that he didn't exist?
Right. Yeah.
Isn't that the same idea?
Pretty much the same idea.
Did that ever play into developing? Or
No, I kind of base him off of Hannibal Lecter a little bit.
Okay.
Because Hannibal Lecter is one of the most fascinating. He's terrifying and fascinating at the same time.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters in all of cinematic history and writing. If I was in the same room as him, I'd be terrified, but intrigued to ask him questions and learn more about him, right? And why he does the things that he does and whatever, right? But yeah, so.
And if he was a real person, I'd like to try to get him on the show here too. But
Right. He'd have to have the wrappings and the mask on for
that's
sure.
right. So,
And 5 armed guards.
well,
Yes.
on that note, you know what? There's a lot more we could get into with you, but I'd like to save that for down the road here. We're gonna do this again.
Sure.
We may even get some other guests videoed when you have time there.
Sure.
So, guys, thank you again. My guest here is Tyler Sundt. You can follow his film journey by searching Aviator Productions. You can check out the podcast that he's a part of with his good friends Scott Labrie and Eric Deshane. It's called The Esteemed Gentleman. They do a lot about this. You talk movies, video games, pop culture.
Yep.
So yeah, check them out. You can see our episode notes for more details on that. And if you enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor, check out the rest by searching Now for Someone Completely Interesting or at Poolin Radio. Give us a like, give us a listen, give us a share. Tyler Sundt, someone completely interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.